we're going to talk about real estate, business, and mindset because it's all related. But I'm especially here to get the real stuff. I'm going to tell you only one thing, and that's the fact that it's possible. And guys, I have an amazing guest with me today. And I just learned that actually he's got some family down here in Montreal, Canada. How cool is that? Greatest city on earth, Montreal. And without further ado, welcome on the show, Antoine Martel.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I was doing a little bit of research on you, and I noticed that it's a family thing for you. I noticed that you're doing it with your brother and your father.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We started all doing this kind of 4 years ago. My brother dragged me and my dad to like a real estate workshop, and me and my dad followed along with my brother. And that's kind of where the whole real estate thing started 4 years ago. And it was like about flipping houses. And that's kind of what piqued our interest about real estate investing. And kind of from there, things took off. We never actually went ahead with the flipping side, but it kind of just opened up the doors and the floodgates to what is real estate investing. How can we make money from it? How can we, create a legacy, stuff like that.
Awesome. So you get one good thing out of this event. What were you doing before that?
Before that, well, while I was at the event, I actually was still in college. My brother was still in college. My dad worked full time. I was born in Toronto. My dad's from Quebec. My mom's from, where's she from? Niagara. So we moved from Toronto to San Francisco in 2000. My dad got a job transfer, which allowed us to move here. So my dad's been working and, needed to keep working in order to be a citizen here. And then slowly with time, we got our citizenship and all that kind of stuff. I was still going to university while we went to that event. So I was in college while I began learning about real estate.
That's pretty interesting. Cool. And you, like you said, your brother dragged you into this. So you kind of like fell into this accidentally.
Yeah. My dad always wanted to. My dad had a 8-unit apartment building back in Montreal in some suburb while he was at university, because he went to university in Montreal, not McGill, but another university. Yeah. And while he was there, he had an 8-unit apartment building. And that was his first and only experience in real estate investing. But he knew that it was something he wanted to get into. But since we moved to the States, he couldn't really spend any time or money or energy focusing on it because he had to pay the bills and had to keep working. Yeah. So there was no other option for him.
So did he kept it? Does he still have it?
No. He sold it. He just had it for a couple of years while he was living in Montreal, and then he eventually sold it. But he it was his first taste, and he was like, oh wow, I can actually make real money with this. But he ended up, I think he married my mom and he sold the building and stuff like that.
Oh, great. So he already had a foot in the door and an interest.
Yeah.
And, how did your brother convince you to get into real estate?
He didn't. He just signed up. He just signed up for this course or this event. And then him and my dad went to the event, and then they signed up for the full package of the course or whatever, which includes like the online courses and stuff like that. And they're like, here, Antoine, you have free access now. And I'm like, well, shit. All right. If you guys already paid for it, I guess I'll start reading and researching. So that's when I started learning and going through the course material, like the materials that they had signed up for, the courses that they had signed up for, and kind of just started learning on my own.
Awesome. So actually, I think it's really inspiring because you just started like 4 years ago. You got this amazing business right now. You got a turnkey business. You got a portfolio. What was the first deal that you guys made?
Yeah. So the first deal was 2 years ago. So that means 2 years of learning, of doing nothing, of going through those courses, of listening to podcasts like this, listening to Bigger Pockets podcasts, really learning every different facet of real estate investing and how to make money with real estate investing. From that, I was still in university, which was 2 years ago. I was learning about flipping houses. We realized it was too expensive to flip houses in LA or in San Francisco. All of California. It's too expensive. And it's too risky.
Can you give us like a bracket?
Yeah.
Like how expensive it is over there compared to
So, for example, my buddies flip houses here in LA, and they'll buy houses for $800,000. They'll put $100,000 into it and they'll sell it for 1.2. Those are like typical numbers. But then you have the hard money lender because you have to buy it with all cash. Then you have, the realtor fees, which is on the buy side and the sell side. So there's a lot of other fees that, make the profit look pretty slim at the end of the day. So those are what the deals look like here. We realized that with the amount of money we had and the amount of experience, which was nothing, that, investing $1 million into a project, even though it wasn't our own money, we were still getting a loan for that amount of money at 12% interest rate, which was a lot of interest every single month that you have to pay for.
Yeah, indeed.
If the project goes 3 months over, well, there goes half your profit, right?
Exactly.
And we know all construction projects are delayed, no matter how well it is, unless it's a smaller job. So we just decided that wasn't our path. My dad was interested because he had that apartment building in the past when he was a kid, that he wanted to get into cash flowing real estate. My dad had $40,000 saved up. I started learning, more about investing out of state since I'm in California. But there's a whole, many other markets in the Midwest, in the middle of the country that are where cash flow makes more sense. So you can buy houses for $100,000 instead of $1 million, and they rent out for $800, $900, and you can rent those properties out and they make a good return. So that's what I kind of started looking into and what I started learning about. And from there, I kind of just went to my dad after I had done homework for 2 years, really, and went to him and pitched him this investment. I said, hey, we can buy this house for $40,000. We can renovate it for $5,000. And then we can do a cash out refinance. The property will be worth $60,000 when it's done. And we can do a cash out refinance and pull our money out. Good. And so that was the first deal that we did. I went to Memphis. I found a team, which is like a property management company, a realtor, a contractor. I found those people and found the property. And then I went to my dad and said, hey, this is what I think we should do. This is how we can grow a portfolio out of state.
So actually, were you like stuck in paralysis analysis in those 2 years? What happened in there? Why did it take 2 years, and what happened in that? What pushed you to do that first?
To do this, and it was a myriad of things. I think we were trying. So like the course that we went through. So kind of when everybody gets into real estate investing, they learn about all the different facets, right? So there's turnkey investing, there's wholesaling, there's flipping houses, there's commercial real estate. And then you're kind of like, all right, which one's best for me? So for us,
ways, exactly.
So for us, we were like, okay, let's just spend 3, 4, 5 months on each one. Let's really focus on it, see if we can figure it out. If not, just cut it off. And then we'll at least realize why it did not work. So 6 months of that time was trying to flip houses in San Francisco. 6 months of that time was trying to flip houses, in the middle of California, which is like Fresno, Bakersfield, all that kind of stuff. Then we realized we didn't really want to flip houses there after a couple months.
And by trying, you mean making offers, trying to get a good price?
So making offers. And that's one of the benefits was taking the course was that they kept pushing like make offers. So we weren't really in an analysis paralysis stage. We were actually making 20 offers a month during that time. But we were making all these 10, 20 offers a month and nothing was getting accepted. And we would look at the sold listings after they would sell and we'd be like, okay, let's plug in that purchase price, which was like $100,000, $200,000 higher than our purchase price. Okay, we wouldn't have made any money according to our numbers. So we're like, we're obviously in the wrong market. We obviously don't have enough cash. We're obviously raising too much money and paying too much interest because the guys who are doing these deals don't have any of those expenses, which are making it possible for them to do the deals where we cannot do the deal.
Cool. So now you're doing like what we call virtual flipping. And did you actually flew over to Memphis and then, got your foot in there, started meeting people, or were you doing everything virtually?
So the first 5 deals were done virtually. Everything was done over the phone, email, asking for referrals, that kind of thing. Just doing everything as much as homework as I could from here, learning about the market, learning about the team, the members of that team, and the people who can do the rehab, do the property management. So that's what that took like 6 months to build that team virtually while I was in my last year at university. And then the last semester, we purchased that first property out of state.
Which is like, I don't know, in my mind, it's kind of like it's still a concept. I didn't do it virtually because I don't know, there's like this stepping stone of like, you don't see it and you're not there to manage the thing. So I've always had this fear of like not working. So how was it for you? Like at first when you first started to buy and started to like manage virtually people? Was it a challenge?
So what made me feel comfortable of doing that was first of all, setting up the right people, having them all already know each other. So I went and like pretty much found a team on the ground that was already doing similar things. Like they were already doing construction projects together, and the rehab guy was working with the property management company already. They already kind of knew each other, but they just didn't know, they just were missing me, the missing piece, which was the funds to be able to do more houses and somebody to find more deals, which that they could rehab more and have more houses to manage for the property management side. So
Right.
I went and kind of found a team that was already on the ground. They just didn't know that I was the missing link to make a successful business, to make everybody make more money. So when I kind of found these people over the phone and don't get me wrong, it took 6 months to build this team, right? So there's a lot of people that I ran through.
So it's not like if it was luck, you just stumbled upon someone who was really good. It was like thorough research.
Yeah. Thorough research and thorough phone calls. And, I called probably like 100 to 150 agents before I found the right agent for me. I would call people and just tell them what my plan was. Hey, I want to buy a house a month in Memphis and do a cash out refinance after we rent it out. And, there'd be agents who would pick up the phone and say, oh, the market's been up for 9 years. You shouldn't be investing in real estate. And I'm like, are you a real estate agent? Aren't you trying to sell me stuff?
Exactly.
So yeah, it didn't really make much sense to me, but I kept trying. Something else that made me feel really comfortable was having a third party inspector in all of my deals. So, I had my team, I found the house, but then let's say the team all tried to work together to win me over to make more money off me, whatever the case may be. Then I had a third party inspector go through the house to make sure that the house is a real house. The house has all these things that everybody's telling me. So it was kind of like my protection, my safety net. And it was only $300 to have somebody go and walk that property for me. So it was a $300 safety net for every deal. I knew that there was a third party person who was double checking all of these things. And I can always have that person go out even throughout the rehab project. Before I send in a draw for the rehab, for example, I can have that guy pay $300, have that guy go through, make sure the work is done, because I don't believe the other people, let's say. I never ended up doing this, but it was just in my head, like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, I can have this inspector go through. It's $300 fee, but I can get it done,
Good. So actually, what made you choose that market? Actually, the first market you said Memphis.
Yep.
You live in California. What made you choose Memphis out of all the market that there is?
Yeah. So I'd never been to Memphis before. It was all through data. So that was another couple month project of just looking at all the data for all the markets in the US, where a couple of things, where the laws were favorable for landlords. So in California, for every state, where there's different laws for landlords and for tenants and different rules and regulations. Some states are more landlord friendly. Some states are more tenant friendly. So you try to find all the landlord friendly states. So that already like knocks off half of the states, right?
Yeah.
After that, I looked at job growth, population growth. I looked at, so what cities are people moving into? What's the unemployment rate for all these different cities? The other thing I looked at is like the median price for every house in these areas. So every city, what's the median price? So I wanted it to be less than $150,000, because properties typically that are over $150,000 don't cash flow that well. So I would just cut off all the markets where the median property values were over 150, and that knocks off another 25%. So it's kind of just slowly just chopping down that list as low, because I wanted to find cash flowing markets where the laws were favorable to me, and then a market that had some growth. So population growth, job growth. I looked at like diversity of workforce. So I wanted to make sure that the jobs were in different industries. So if one industry collapsed, then the other industries can still hold up the market.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And then I also look at major employers and what major employers are in that market. Do I think they're going to be there long term, et cetera?
Awesome. And from that first deal, how many deals did you do before you kind of like noticed that you could duplicate yourself and hit another market?
It was probably deal 7. So I think I did like 7, 8 deals in Memphis. And then I was like, okay, there's not enough deals. because, okay, the first deal was funded with my dad's money.
Okay.
Then we did a refinance and gave my dad his money back. And then I was like, hey, instead of going to my dad, I can just go and raise money from people in Los Angeles. I was living in LA at the time. I still do. I was like, oh, I can just use these 5 deals, or first deal that I did, use it as a case study to go and raise money for deal 2 through 100, right? So I would go and just network my ass off and just meet with people and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I've done 1 deal so far. Here's the numbers. I'm looking to raise money for the next deal, and I'll give you 50% of the profits, or whatever it may be. And that's how I went from, deal 2 to deal 30, was raised through other people's money, and how I was able to scale.
Awesome. I mean, it's actually such a big constraint to a lot of people. Like, they all think that they have to have money to do deals, but what we find is actually, like, you don't have to use your own money. The best way is to use other people's money. Then you can.
Yep, exactly. And then, so now I started to see, okay, I have access to all this money now, but I don't have enough deals. So that's what made me go from Memphis to Cleveland to Birmingham, because it was like, okay, I need more deals per month. Because I have all this access to capital now that I'd built up, because person would invest in the deal, they would make a good return, and then they want to double down. It's like, okay, well, I don't have enough deals. So
where's the next one?
Yeah, it made me kind of then look at all the key points of why I invested in Memphis, and just find other markets that were very similar to Memphis. And that's how I got into the other markets, and how I started to expand to other markets.
Wow, that's really cool and really inspiring. Like I said, what was the challenge from, like, going to Memphis and then expanding to the market?
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge you stumbled?
The biggest challenge with adding a new market is going to be building the team.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a timely process, and you may find a team in 7 days. It may take 7 months. It's really just a numbers game, and reaching out to as many people as you can who you think are going to work for you. So it's really a numbers game.
Process then? What would be your process to find?
To build the team.
Yeah.
So my process, after going through it a couple of times, is reaching out to a bunch of property management companies, realtors, and just setting up meetings 4 weeks in advance, and just book a trip to Cleveland, Ohio, or Arkansas, and you call every single company in a city in Arkansas and set up a bunch of meetings, and just go there, fly out, and shake as many hands as you can. Then on your flight back home, kind of look back and see, okay, who did I have the best relationship with? Who has the same communication style as me? So do they have an iPhone? Do you have an iPhone? Do they have an Android? Do you have an Android? Do they like emailing? Do they like, that kind of thing? Are they in your same age group? That kind of thing. So if you go and look at my teams, like, most of my teams are young guys who are hungry, who are looking to grow and looking to expand into something bigger than what they're doing now. So those are the kinds of people that, and that's pretty similar to me, right?
Cool.
Me going and hiring a property management company who's 70 years old and on the way out wouldn't really work well with me, because I'm young and hungry and hustling and stuff like that. So it's finding, and it's going to be different for everybody. Somebody who's double my age may go out there and vibe and have a good relationship with somebody who's their age, has the same work style and work ethic as them. So it really depends on the person. But yeah, I would book meetings with property management companies, realtors, fly out there, shake as many hands as you can, and see who you vibe with the best and have the best relationship with during your time there.
Good. Great advice, man. That's really good.
Yeah,
and like you said, you first thing you stumbled upon was flipping, but then you started buying, and mostly you just keep, or did you resell it? Or you just do BRRRR, which is buy, rehab, refinance, repeat?
Yeah. So we started with the BRRRR strategy, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Yep.
And then we started growing our portfolio. I grew the portfolio for my parents because I wanted to help them retire and stuff like that. And then once I grew a portfolio for them, then friends and family started reaching out to us, because here in California, if you own a bunch of homes in Memphis and Cleveland, everybody talks about investing in the stock market, and we're like, oh no, we sold all our stocks and we invest in real estate now. We have a portfolio in Memphis. Everybody's like, what? You have what? Where? So it spreads like wildfire if you just talk about it and start investing out of state. So our friends and family started reaching out to us. They wanted to do the same thing that we were doing. So what we started doing was we would buy houses, rehab them, rent them out, put the property management company in place. And then before we refinanced it, we would just sell it to our friends and family. And we would help them get a new loan on that property, give them the property management company, the tenant, everything was done for them, right? So that's kind of how the turnkey company all began.
I see. So you do the turnkey and then just sell it to someone who wants to invest. That's cool. It's really interesting. So you just, at the same time, you help other people invest their money wisely, and you make your company profit and benefit. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, since you work with your brother and your father, what are the role for each of you?
Yeah. So my dad still has a full-time job. My brother and me work full-time on this company now. So my brother handles more of the acquisition side. So he's looking at all the numbers for every single deal, looking at the market every single day. And he's, helping us find more deals and we do like 10 houses a month now. So there's a lot of work that goes into finding those deals, running the numbers, making sure they check out. Right. So he handles that. Then he sends it to, then he helps us write the offers. We submit the offers. Then I'm kind of handling the project management side. So as soon as we get a deal under contract, it's in my records, and I'm watching the deal until it goes to the sales side. So handling the construction, handling the leasing, making sure it's getting leased out for the rent that we want it to. And then I just hired somebody else a couple of weeks ago to help with the sales side. So to help sell all the properties, we have a website where we just put up all of our inventory. But it's a lot of sales that goes into it because you need to, make people feel comfortable that they're investing in something that you believe in, that's going to make them a return on their money, that's going to be better than the stock market, all these things. So,
do you always sell them as investment property, or you also sell them to just people who want to buy and live there?
No, only investment properties. Okay. So I don't do any retail flips is what I would call it. Okay. So I don't sell to any homeowners.
And actually, if I want to dig into your business, like, what was the first move you made in your business? Like, who was the first people you hired apart from the people? On the contractor and all that stuff. Like in the business, who was the first people you started hiring?
Well, my dad and my brother helped me out the most. So I was doing it full time, but my dad and my brother, whenever they had a free moment from whatever they were doing, my brother was in college, my dad works full time. Then they would help me out and help out the company. So that was like, I don't know what I would have done if that wasn't the case. Right. So that really helped me out. And then at the beginning of the year, so in January 2nd or whatever, I hired my brother full time. So he wasn't going to university anymore. He was trying to be a real estate agent. I told him to stop being an agent and just come and join the business. So he started full time at the beginning of the year. And then just recently I hired the second employee, which is going to be that salesperson who's going to help sell all the properties for us. But it's very recent. Like we've been in business for 2 years. All of last year, it was me who was finding all the deals, managing all the projects and selling all the projects. And then my dad and brother were helping with, the back end kind of stuff with the financing, the accounting, all that kind of stuff.
Which is really impressive. I mean, 2 years ago, you started from nothing and now you're turning 10 properties a month.
Yeah.
It's really, really impressive.
Thank you.
It's really good, man.
Thank you.
And it's really inspiring. So people at home see it's possible.
Yeah. We started with $40,000.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
So,
actually you started from there. Okay. And then everything's pretty recent. What do you think? What do you think about the market? Because a lot of people are talking about the market crashing and everything. So you should get into wholesaling, blah, blah, blah. And I know that there's 100 different market in the state.
Yeah.
And it's different in Canada. So what do you think about this? You still going to do turnkey?
Yeah, we're going to do turnkey. Nothing's going to stop. Like I want the market to crash so that I can buy the houses for cheaper. Right. So
exactly.
People are worried about the market crashing. I'm excited. The other thing too is like the markets that I'm investing in are some of the they're the most affordable markets in the US. So if you think about it, if the market were to crash and people were going to all lose their jobs, then they could still go and work at McDonald's and Taco Bell and Starbucks and get paid minimum wage, and they could still afford the rent at my houses. Like single family homes in these markets rent out for $700 to $800 a month. So, the people who are renting apartments or condos for $2,000 or $3,000 a month, they lose their job. Yeah, you're going to have higher vacancy. But with me, I'm in the
first one to crash. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm in the affordable housing space. So, we may sell a property for $100,000 and the market may crash and the property may be worth $60,000. Let's say it's ridiculous, but let's say the property value drops a lot. The rent is not going to go from $1,000 to $600. The rent's going to stay the same because we're at that affordable price range.
Yeah. Great. And actually, what do you think, like going on into turnkey and everything, what do you think now? Are you going to go into different market from now, or are you going to keep the same thing? Where do you think, like future wise, where are you heading?
So I'm going to keep up with the turnkey side of things. The only thing I'm worried about with the market crashing is that just people are going to be scared. So I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to be more excited, as you can tell, but there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to want to invest because they're just going to be scared and they're just going to hoard their cash when actually they should be deploying it. That's just the way that the market happens. So the turnkey business may slow down because the buyers who are buying the end product may be scared. The smart ones are going to be buying as much as they possibly can, but I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be scared and not want to invest and not want to get loans at that time, which makes sense. Now, what was your question before that?
Actually,
what am I moving into?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was. So what am I moving into? So the turnkey side, I'm still going to keep running it until we hit a market crash and something happens. What I'm moving into now is more apartment buildings. So I bought a 20-unit apartment building back in December with my own money. I'm building up a case study for that so that can help me kind of raise money for future apartment buildings. I'm actually just submitting an LOI on another one right before this podcast. But this year my goal is to do 100 units of apartment buildings as well. So and start syndicating and raising money for those projects, and kind of using the one that I bought last year as a springboard to raise more money. The same exact setup. The same exact setup too that I used for the turnkey company and the single family homes. Yeah. Raise money. The first one was done with us. Then I used that as a springboard to raise money for deal 2 to 60. And that's how we've been running this whole company. And the same thing with apartment buildings. So new space, use your first funds at the beginning, and then use that as a springboard to raise money for all the other projects after.
Great. You know what? I mean, it's an amazing business that you build right now. Everything seems like going on great. It's all pink and everything, but like, it's impossible that you didn't fail at one point. So tell me, like, what do you think it's like? Yeah. Where did you fail? What happened? Tell me about some failing. So people can relate and not think that everything is pink in real estate.
Yeah. So failing, there's a couple, when you're in rental properties, there's a couple of things you can't control. One is what people can't see. So everything that's behind the walls, literally, like I have no control over what's behind the walls. My inspectors can't see through the walls. Yeah. So sometimes we'll sell properties. 2 weeks later, something will explode in the walls and we'll get a call from the owner who's of course upset. Hey, you're supposed to sell these to us turnkey, and this plumbing pipe exploded, plumbing stack exploded. And we're like, here's the inspection report when we bought it. Here's the inspection report when you bought it. Nobody saw that it's behind the walls. Nobody can see it, but we'll pay for it. Right. So those things happen all the time. It's the game of real estate. Nobody's going to spend, I'm not going to tear down all the walls to see what's behind it so that I can rebuild it all. I mean, the prices wouldn't make sense anymore, and you wouldn't have a rental property that would make any money. So those things happen on a continuous basis. Those are constant fires that keep coming up, especially when you're doing 5 houses a month. I mean, those are things that always happen. The other thing that you can't control and nobody can control is tenants. Tenants are very hard to screen in the US, especially at this affordable price point, because a lot of the tenants don't have very high credit scores. If they did, they would go and buy their own house. So a lot of the longest term tenants have the lowest credit scores.
Yeah. So what do you do to screen them then?
Yeah. So screening is we take the credit report. Look, not the credit score, but the actual report. So looking at all of the balances they have, what things they aren't paying for, what credit cards they aren't paying for. and they may have a low credit score because, 5 years ago or from year 2 to 5, they weren't paying because they didn't have a job, but then they got a job 2 years ago. They've been solid for the last 2 years. That's somebody that we would want to live in one of our properties. We want to have no prior evictions. We want them to, of course, have a job, have two pay stubs to send to us and all that kind of stuff. So there's a bunch of other things. We also look for 3 times rent to income. So if a property rents out for $1,000 a month, we want the rent to be $3,000 per month. So there's some other checks and balances that we put in place, but it's a tricky game because of the credit score and because the lowest credit scores actually lead to a long-term tenant because they can't move out because they can't buy a house.
They can't buy, exactly.
Yeah. So what was your original question?
It was failing. It was about failing.
Failing. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So those are 2 things that are on like a continuous basis. Yeah. Now, the one time that I failed the hardest was trying to scale up too fast. So I was in Memphis and Cleveland, and then I was like, okay, it's time for another market because I had built the last 2 in a matter of like 6 or 9 months. And I was like, okay, I'm ready for another market. I didn't fly out to this market. I just made a couple of phone calls. Like I built the team in a weekend and I was like, oh, that was so easy. I'm so good at this, whatever. And then I started looking at deals. I made an offer like 3 days later. I had a house under contract and I was like, all right, time to get this house going. And it turns out the team that I had was absolutely terrible. They had no idea what they were doing. They started charging me fees left and right that they said that we had talked about and we had spoke about. And I was like, I never agreed to pay you $4,000 to manage a rehab project, and a rehab project's $14,000. So it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. Wow.
So it was just a terrible experience. And it was just because I didn't do my due diligence on these people. I, thought that I was the best ever at building a team out of state.
Yeah, it sounds like the beginner's mistake of getting overconfident and then like, oh, it's easy. I'm not gonna do like all the thorough inspection on people and everything, and then boom, it's you in the face.
Way too confident in myself and what I can do, and just.
But you learned from this, actually.
Yeah. No, it was good that I didn't buy like 40 houses and buy a package and then realize my team is a piece of junk, right? So it was just one property that we bought out there. We got in and out of it
quickly. I mean, the first property you bought, you realized that it wasn't working.
Yeah, because I skipped a bunch of due diligence steps that I normally would do for a team. But thank God I had only bought one house and just kept I didn't actually end up losing. I actually ended up making money, which is the crazy thing about real estate. Even though you may do something terribly wrong, you can still, break out even or even make some money doing deals. But that's my biggest mistake, is just getting way too confident in myself and what I was doing.
What would be your typical number on a house? You said like you buy 150 and less. So what would be your typical number on
so we typically sell our homes for $70,000 to $90,000. They're rented out for $750 to $1,000 a month. For all the different markets, they're very similar numbers in that sense.
Which is pretty impressive. I mean, if you only study the California market or even here in Montreal, which is the property are really expensive compared to the rent. So it doesn't make any sense sometimes to buy because you just pay every month. So since you want to have cash flow.
Yep.
So, but you have to open up your eyes, I guess, to other market, that's what I like about the States, because here there's like 3 major city or a few other one in Canada. But when you open up to United States market, there's so many big market that you can get in, which makes a lot more sense cash flow wise.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually just started helping Canadian investors invest here. So the way that I did it was I started seller financing properties for Canadian investors. So that's what I started.
Fellow Canadian, you want to invest in the States? There you go.
An
option here.
Your Canadian connection to the States. So we started seller financing because we own all the deals we sell. We own them with our own money. So there's no other investors that we have in our deals now. So it gives us the ability to help people invest in the States who want to get seller financed. And it's a super simple process. So let's say I would be actually a fellow Canadian that would like call you up and be like, hey, Antoine, I want to invest in the States. What do you have? How does it work? Help me out. Sure. So let's say you find a property. We agree on a property that you want to move forward with. So we'll get that out of place. You want to move forward with this property. We're going to ask for a couple of pieces of information. So your Canadian credit score or your credit history, whatever you can show us that shows that. We want to show the last 2 years of tax returns or some kind of income from the government that shows that you actually make money. And then the last thing we want is just 2 bank statements to show you actually have liquidity in your bank account to be able to put money as the down payment for this property.
All right.
The terms for
payment you ask.
Yeah. So we're going to ask for 40% down payment.
40%. All right.
And then the interest rate varies between the properties and locations and stuff like that, but it's like 7 to 8%, but we do 30-year terms. So it's a long-term loan. The interest rate's a little bit higher. I mean, in the US, the interest rate right now is 5.6% to 6%. So we're just 1 point higher than that is what we're asking for.
Actually,
it's not that bad. Yeah. And I mean, the thing that sucks is that the 40% down, but the reason why we have to do that is because we have to get as much cash out of the deal as possible. So because we own it with our own money. So we're trying to get as much cash out so that we can continue buying more properties to provide more properties to our investors. Right.
Yeah. Cause I'm actually surprised that you do like 60% seller financing. It's huge for you guys. Cause
I know
you leave a lot of cash on the table.
I know. Yeah, I know we do, but we love the properties that we do. We love the locations that we're investing in. We're invested in the same neighborhoods long-term. So for us, it's like, oh, we can help other people invest in these neighborhoods. Yeah. We can use that cash we get back to buy more. We just think that it's good. I mean, we're making good money. The investor is going to make a good return on their money too. And it opens up the door for you guys to actually invest here, where if you go with some other commercial lenders, they're going to ask for, an arm and a leg from you guys and a bunch of fees. Like I don't charge any fees or anything like that either. That's all you pay for is the interest rate and stuff like that.
Awesome. Did you ever think about investing in Canada?
No, we haven't. I don't think my dad would like that because of the snow and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the reason why that's the reason why we moved out. He's like, people would ask him when we moved here, hey, why'd you guys move from Canada? He's like, I was sick of shoveling snow. That's what he would say.
I get that. I totally get that. And I understand. I think it's a good movie that he did. Actually, it's one of my goals. Actually, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, awesome.
It's one of my goals. At least in winter, because summertime here it's amazing. Weather is really awesome, but summer is so long. Winter too long. Right now it's winter. It's like -15 outside.
Oh my god,
it's freezing in here.
Yeah, I got some pictures yesterday from some people who were in Toronto, and it was like blizzard over there.
Yeah, it is. It is freezing. I don't know what's going on this year, but it's so long. Winter's so long. And did you actually, let's get back to 2 years ago. Did you ever had that vision of like building a big portfolio, big business like this? Was it your vision, or did you just like gradually, made your vision to this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I never thought that it was possible, I guess. I mean, you'd look at all these people like Grant Cardone or some big multifamily investors, and you're like, oh, wow, that's great. And that sounds really good. And you make, $100,000 a month, but that's not really, I try to like stay grounded in reality, I guess. If I do something, then my goal is to double that thing the next year, right? So last year I did 60 houses, single family homes. This year my goal is to do 120, right? Or 100 houses to make it easy. So like I'm always like kind of pushing the boundary and trying to grow, but I never had this vision of, I'm going to own 1,000 units or 5,000 units and be this big real estate investor. It was just like, let's just start with one thing and slowly grow and slowly scale it up. And then keep on pushing the boundary, whether that's every year or every other week, doing more of what was working the last week. But no, I never really had this big grand vision of what I want to do.
And what keeps you motivated like this? I mean, because I know it's not easy. You're probably working a lot of hours, especially when you're working by yourself. So what gets you out of bed in the morning, and what keeps you motivated like this?
Yeah. I mean, they always say like you have to love what you do in order to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, obviously.
And I mean, I love it. It's the funnest thing. Every deal is different. Every deal is on a different street. normally in the same neighborhood, but on a different street. It's a different house. It's a different problem that you have to tackle. And it's really fun to see, like, you're buying, like, you're doing something real, right? It's not like you have a software and you're like selling software or anything like that. It's you're buying something, you're making it pretty again. Somebody's actually living in one of your houses, or, you know, a property that you own, and you're providing a place for them to live that's clean, safe, and livable. You're taking professional property photos, which nobody else is doing in my neighborhoods. And you're actually making a difference. So I would say all of those kinds of things, but it just goes back to, I love it, and I love what I do. And the reason why I keep hustling so hard is because I can see the vision now. Like, now I set a goal to do 100 houses this year. Okay, I need to wake up, and I need to, every day is a 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. grind to get to those 100 houses. And even though my to-do list may be run dry, there's always other things and more that I can be doing in order to help me reach that goal. And it may not be, you know, making offers or anything like that, but there's always more to be done, I guess. And I'm always, you know, whenever I have, and I'm also addicted to productivity. So if I'm sitting on a beach in Cabo, like, it's the worst thing that's ever happening to me. But if I'm here and sitting and doing a podcast, I mean, I'm doing something, I'm being productive, and that's what kind of drives me to even do more.
Awesome. Feel the same thing, man. I can't sit still. I mean,
I can't do it.
Something I have to.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Tulum, Mexico, which is like close to Cancun on the east side. And then we were there, and it was like the whole time I was just like on the beach. I was on my phone, and, you know, I just had to put my phone away in order to get any sort of relaxation. But we were there for, I think, 6 days. And I was like, by day 3, I was like, all right, ready to go home. I need to get this stuff done. You know, it's hard to relax when you're built this way, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And what does your market look like? I mean, marketing wise, what does it look like? How do you find deal? How do you manage to find so many deals? Because a lot of people come up to me and they're like, hey, I can't find any deals. And I'm like, there's deals everywhere. It's easy. Yeah. But what does your marketing look like?
Yeah, so we do a lot of stuff on the market. So here it's called the MLS. Do you guys have that? Is it called that there?
Same. Yeah, MLS.
Same thing? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we have the MLS. We have wholesalers. So people that, does your audience know what those are?
Yeah, the wholesaler, which is basically people looking for houses and they sell their offer.
Got it. Okay, cool. So MLS, wholesalers. The other thing now that we've done so many deals is other agents start bringing us deals.
Yeah.
So those kind of 3 ways are how we get most of our deals. But when I first started, like 80-90% of my stuff was just coming from the MLS. It's just a numbers game. So even if a house comes up in a market or in a neighborhood that you're interested in investing in, and the price is way too high, just make an offer on it. You never know what's going to happen. The first contract may fall out, and they may want an all cash transaction just to get the deal done, right? So I still, to this day, I still submit offers that are like 30% below asking, because it's the price that I want to get it at. And you'd be surprised on, you know, they may list the house without any motivation, but then 2 weeks down the line, something can happen to them or their family and they need to get out, and you're the only offer that they have at hand, and they take your money and run.
Do you get back to those people? Do you call back, do a call or something?
Yeah, we have follow-up. So my agents, I always make at the very beginning, you want to make sure your agents have a follow-up system. I mean, all agents should be following up. That's where most of the money is made. So if they're not following up, they're not going to be a good agent. But yeah, I always follow up with those people to make sure that, my agents follow up to make sure that our offer is still being seen. Hey, what's the counter? So they always follow up. Yeah.
I'm really, really surprised, honestly, so that you can find that many deals on MLS, because a lot of people are like, there's no deal on MLS. I mean, look off market, but there's still deal. And I'm really surprised that you can find that many deals, but meaning it's possible. And that's the whole idea. It's possible. You can find deal on MLS.
Yep.
The thing is, you have to make contact. Like you said, you have to find good agent. Totally agree with what you're saying. What would be your criteria in like finding good agent?
Yeah. So finding a good agent, what I would do is just try to find the top agent who is doing the most amount of deals in your zip code. So don't look at the whole city as a whole. They may be doing A class, skyscrapers or condos and large buildings. That's not what you want. You want somebody who's in your neighborhood. So find your zip code that is going to work for you, whether you're flipping or doing rentals. Find the top agent who's doing the most amount of transactions in that zip code, and then call the top 20 of those people. And that's kind of how you vet them. And you just explain to them what your process is. Hey, my name's Antoine Martel. I'm a real estate investor from California. I'm looking to buy, rehab, rent, and resell, rental properties in this neighborhood. I wanted to know if you had any deals available right now. That's it. And then you can continuously follow up with those people. And that's gotten me a good amount of deals too. So the people who pick up, who have a conversation with you, who are interested in helping you, you keep following up with those people. And you'll start to see deals come from those people as soon before they're listed on the market, or as soon as they are listed on the market. And those are the people who just continue sending you deals, are the ones that you're going to want to work with. It may be hard at the beginning when you don't have much experience and you don't really have much to show for it, because they don't want to waste their time. But you have to.
Exactly. So did you stumble upon any agent that was stubborn, that didn't want to work with an investor?
Oh yeah. 90% of them don't want to. When you say, oh, I'm looking, have you invested here before? No. Click. They want to work with people who are actually, how many phone calls I get from California investors who want to buy in their markets. If they're a top agent, they get calls all day long.
Probably. So how did you stand out?
Differentiate. Yeah. So the way that I stood out was I was not only calling agents, but also calling the listing agents for the properties that were coming up in my zip code, that were distressed, that needed rehab work. Hey, I saw your listing on 123 Main Street. I'm an investor. I'd like to buy it from you. I can give you an all cash offer. Because now you're talking to the listing agent. They have an incentive, because they don't as long as you write the offer and send the contract in, they're fine with it. They just want to make their commission and walk away. So calling those people too was how I got the first one.
So what I get from that is making a lot of phone calls. You're probably often on the phone, because you have to make a lot of phone calls, a lot of hustling to get to those people, to those good people.
Yeah, exactly. Because I moved, this was while I was at college too. So I moved all my classes to night. So I was at school from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then during the day I was calling every single day. Wow.
Impressive. And actually, that's what I said to a lot of people, stop taking courses. All the information is free. Just take action, do phone calls, get to meet sellers, get to meet agent.
Yeah. And nothing's a waste of your time either. Even if you have one phone call may change your perspective, because you may mention, oh yeah, I'm looking at, 12345 zip code or 12346. And then you're like, what do you think about that zip code, sir? And they'll tell you, a story about, oh, they grew up in that zip code and blah, blah, blah. And that may change your opinion of that zip code. And maybe you don't want to look there anymore. So with every little phone call, you collect more and more data, which you're going to apply to what you knew from reading online. Yeah. And then use that data and see if the data you're collecting from the phone calls matches what you have on your criteria and what you're looking for. And that may change. So you have to be open to changing. I mean, everything is going to be fluid. Once you start making those phone calls, things may change and for the better.
So you target specific city, but in that city, you also target specific zip code, specific area. Oh yeah. What's your criteria to target specific area? Like nice area, poor area, or middle?
Yeah. So again, I'm in affordable housing. So I look for properties that are less than $100,000. So the ARVs or after repair values are $100,000 or less. I look to make sure that the rents are also close to $1,000 per month. So the reason why is because I'm looking for the 1% rule, which means that in a neighborhood, if the average home prices are $100,000, I want the average rents to be $1,000 per month. Yeah. That property is going to cash flow nicely. If it's, a $50,000 or $100,000 property and rents are $500 a month, the property is not going to cash flow that nicely because it's 0.5%. So that's kind of what I look for first. And then I want to make sure that neighborhood, the prices are less than $100,000. So that knocks off a lot of neighborhoods. Then the next thing I look for is the crime. So I want to make sure there is no crime. If there is crime, I want it to be very minimal and maybe sporadic, but not crime over the whole zip code. The final thing, if it matches all those criteria is, and if you have any zip codes left, is is finding a neighborhood that's close to jobs or has something going for it. And what I mean by that is maybe some companies are moving in. Maybe FedEx is expanding its headquarters a little bit more this way, and the neighborhood next to that is, on the fringe, and that's up and coming and stuff like that. Or the city invested a ton of money in this commercial area here to make it an arts district or something like that. So those are the kind of extra things that make me actually, okay, this neighborhood is it's appreciation factor. So
yeah,
this neighborhood is not only going to cash flow great, but I think in 5 and 10 years, because Nike has a facility here or Amazon's building a facility here, that this neighborhood's going to appreciate over time. So that's how I kind of figure out which zip code to choose.
Wow. Honestly, the 1% rule, that's what I get, man. The 1% rule. I mean, I talk to so many people that invest here, and I'm like, guys, it's hard to find 0.5% here to get to 0.5% rule. It's really hard. So that's what I'm saying, when it doesn't cash flow, or you have to find a distressed property to get any cash flow. So yes, it's possible, the 1% rule, and even 2% in some places probably, but be careful that it's not in that area. Yeah. But it's possible. 1% rule, it's crazy because, there's a lot of cash flow when it hits the 1% rule.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah, and then in the States, so in all my markets, all the turnkey rentals I sell beat the 1% rule. They're normally like a 1.1, 1.2%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
And what do you think, like, personally, like, Antoine, like, where were you like 2 years ago compared to now, and what did you do what are you doing differently than you did before? Like, maybe you learned some lesson, or you grew up and you learned stuff. So what are you doing differently than you did 2 years ago?
Yeah, I would say that I have a much better vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. I think that, I just have much more direction. I know kind of the path that I need to go down and how I want to go down that path.
So more clear, basically.
Yeah, it's more clear. Yeah, because when you're first starting anything, you're like, oh, I don't know if this is really going to work. I don't know if this is really going to work. And you maybe 2 years into it and you still don't know if it's really going to work. But now I know that, like, we've built an actual company. We're helping real people, both the families who are living there, but also the people who are investing and making a good return on their money, and also setting themselves up for retirement. So it's kind of looking at that business and be like, okay, this is actually working, and now we can really scale this thing up and do more and more deals and help more and more people. That's why we started opening up the seller financing thing to some family members up in Canada too. And we started doing that as well to help more people who wanted to invest here, where it's not even possible to get a 1% rule, but over here it is possible. So I would say those things. I've learned a ton from, again, just playing all the different hats in the business.
Yeah.
So, acquisitions, project management, and the sales hat as well. I had not sold many things before this. But this is like kind of going through and selling 60 houses last year has really, really become a good salesman in the right way. I don't like to like reach out to people and be all sleazy and stuff. Like, I have a different kind of sales tactic. It's more like, let me help you invest in real estate kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean, because you can have like a negative connotation sometimes when you say salesman, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. But it's not, it's like, I sell in a way that I like, that I enjoy, that I know the other person, even if they walk away, is still going to have a good relationship with that person, even though they didn't want to move forward or whatever it may be. So I've learned a lot, about myself, about how to sell the product that I am selling, because it is like a lifelong investment, right? So and there's also, like, when you are selling, there's certain things that you should say and certain things you shouldn't say, and certain ways to say things. And I learned the power of actually being quiet in the sales process and actually letting people think instead of just giving them more and more information. And I heard a quote a couple of days.
Also, asking question, which is really good.
Yeah. And the other thing too that I learned, and I heard a quote 2 days ago or last week, and it's something that I had noticed, but I hadn't put it into words. And he was like, "Don't talk past the sale." And so that was something really, that was like, yeah, I do that. I was like, that's what I was trying to explain. Cause I would tell my dad and my brother, because I would be on the phone with them when they were talking to a potential investor or buyer, and they would just keep talking. I'm like, shut the hell. I would text them, shut the hell up. Let them just think about it and say yes, Yeah. So it's very important being silent and not giving more and more information. Just let things happen naturally and let them think about what they're about to say next. So
yeah, absolutely. And do you always use the same exit strategy, meaning that whenever you buy, you have the same strategy of doing rehab, rent, refinance, or maybe sometimes it doesn't work because, I don't know, something happened and you just flip it, or you just, I don't know, just wholesaling it, or you always use the same strategy?
Yeah. So we have two main exit strategies, and that's how I look at every single deal. I look at two exits. Exit number one is sell it on my website for a client to buy that property and hold it long term. Okay. So that would be buy, rehab, rent, and then resell. So would just be a flip, but it'd be flipping a rental property, right? So that's option one. Option two, let's say nobody wants to buy the property, the market crashes, and everybody's scared shitless of investing in real estate. So option two, and every single deal I look at this because I don't want to bank on option one working out. Yeah. If I'm stuck with a property, I still want to be happy with my personal return. So option number two is the BRRRR strategy, where I don't resell it, I just refinance it. So every deal we're looking at it like that. And every deal on my website that sits there for too long to where it's possible for me to do a refinance, then I just refinance it out, hold it myself. And that's how it kind of works.
So I'm going to get back to where we were before, but like you went from college, and from college you started the business, starting to invest in real estate. And then now you're doing it full time. So basically you never had a job.
Nope.
Which is awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. You just stumbled upon real estate and kept with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because, so I had some internships growing up. Yeah. My dad, again, has been working for his whole entire life. So he forced me in high school or community college to go and get an internship with a big company, a S&P 500 company or whatever. He's like, you need to go and see what it's like to work for other people. Because growing up, I had always been an entrepreneur. I'd always been selling little things here and there, candy or soda or whatever. I had a couple different businesses, and he forced me to go and get an internship. You're going to go and apply for all these internships and get an internship, whatever. I was like, I don't want to work for anybody. He's like, yeah, well, you're saying that, but I want you to feel it, kind of thing. So I think
for like thing, actually.
No, it's really,
you don't want it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I think a couple of summers in a row, for a couple of years in a row, I was working at a couple different companies and working for like an insurance company, a couple of other software companies. And yeah, after those 2 summers or 2.5 summers, I was like, okay, I really need to. Then I went to my 4-year university after community college, after working at those different places. And I was like, okay, I really need to figure out something besides, I'm not going back to that super slow environment that's boring as hell, where people are pretend working the whole day. I need to go and do something
pretend to work. Yeah.
It was incredible though. I never knew that, like, as a kid, you're like, oh, people are in offices and they're hustling the whole day and they're so busy. And then you walk in, people are watching Game of Thrones and doing their emails. It was mind blowing. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. And actually, I lost what I wanted to say. And what let me add, like, what would be your best advice to like someone starting up, like now that you show that it's possible, you built it, you started 2 years ago, which is really, really recent. It's really inspiring. So what would be your best advice? Because what I noticed from what you said is like build relationship, obviously also work hard. Yeah. And build relationship, like I said, but what would be an advice for like a beginner or someone that wants to grow up his company, scale up?
Yeah. My thing is always, so I would learn as much as you possibly can about whatever you're interested in. So if you're interested in real estate, then go and listen to a bunch of podcasts, go and read a bunch of books about it, learn the different types of real estate investing. Then once you collect all that information, then go look at your resources and match your resources to the strategy that works best for you. So I have meetings with new investors all the time, whether it's phone calls or dinner or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, I learned about all these different types of real estate investing, and I want to start with wholesaling because it doesn't take any of my own money and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but let's talk about more about how much money do you have? How much time do you have available? Do you have any kids? Do you have any other responsibilities that you're responsible for? Do you own any real estate, or are you part of any other real estate? And, go and look at your resources. And, if you have a full-time job and 2 kids at home, but you make great money and you love your job, wholesaling and flipping houses is not going to be what you want to do. If you love your job and you want to keep it and you want to spend time with your family, then I wouldn't recommend those things. I would recommend, investing in apartment buildings or investing in rental properties, because the bank loves you because you have a W-2. You have income, and the bank can leverage that income to get you debt, which is going to help you do those things. But if you go and do the flipping route and the wholesaling route, then the key ingredient that you have, which is that income that the government likes and that banks like, is unusable when you're flipping houses or wholesaling. So matching your resources to everything that you learn and every possible outcome is what I would recommend. And people really, look at themselves and say, okay, with my lifestyle, what do I want to do? And maybe look at your end goal and see if you can skip right to your end goal right away, which is maybe cash flow or apartment buildings. And you may have the ability to do that. You just have to start slow. But I wouldn't start with, wholesaling to get to apartment building investings when you have a full-time job and cash in the bank.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. Did you had any mindset challenge, meaning in the beginning or when you were starting or even scaling up, like being scared or like any mindset challenge because your mind wasn't there, so you kind of had like a blockage or going further or forward?
Yeah. I mean, I'm super motivated. So I don't really need like a motivation whole thing. I just like it's built in. I'm again addicted to productivity is something I said here. So like I am, and if I'm not doing something, then something's wrong, right? So I think that goes back to pushing through those blockages goes back to having a team and having people who you can pass ideas off to, even if it is your dad and your brother who are helping you in the business or working with you in the business. It's like those are still. So when you do have a blockage or you have something that you are really scared of, you can, like the fish behind you, like you can pretend like you guys are a shark actually, and you can have that mindset. But you guys can, pretend to be something you are to get you through that blockage. Yeah. But it's also a bunch of different viewpoints. I mean, even submitting the LOI which is a letter of intent on an apartment building today, it was like, okay, before I do this, like this looks like a great deal to me. I am scared, but let me just run it by these 2 other people who have the same, education as me and mindset as me, who are interested in all of our success together. And let's see what they think about it. And then if they agree to it, then I'm going to be totally on board because I have other eyeballs looking at it. And that doesn't need to be somebody like who's in your business with you, but it may be like a lender. It may be your property management company. It may be, there's a million other people who can look at that deal, even if you're scared shitless, to calm you down. Like I even had a phone call with my insurance company, my insurance guy today. And I was really scared about something happening. And after a 5-minute phone call conversation, he was like, oh no, don't worry about it. This happens all the time, blah, blah, blah. So
that's a good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. Really so it's just, reach out to those certain people who, and for me too, it's like whenever I do have one of those blockages, I rather go and attack it than just leave it on the back burner and let things happen. Yeah. And trust me, if you go and do that and you have a blockage or a question that you want answered, or you're really scared about something, go and ask and go and find the person that you need to ask and just call them and just do it, because after that phone call, you're going to feel a whole lot better. You're going to have all that stress off your shoulders.
Absolutely. So, and then you get a different perspective, actually, which can maybe open up your eyes, because when you're too close to something, you can't really see the bigger picture.
Yep.
Yeah, really good tip. Really good tip. Man, we could go on and on for this, because I think we're both like really passionate about this, and we could talk for hours and hours.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. Thank you very
you.
much, Antoine. And last thing, like if people want to get a hold of you, maybe invest in the States, how can they reach you?
Sure. So you can, what's the best way? I have Instagram which is Martel Antoine, MartelAntoine. You can reach out to me there. My email address is Antoine at Martel Turnkey, which is MartelTurnkey. And that's our website too. So if people want to go and reach out to us on the website as well, it's martelturnkey.com. And thanks for having me on the show. It was great conversation.
Awesome. So guys, it's possible. You can do it, and you don't have to have any fear or anything. Or if you have any question, you want some motivation, or you just have a specific question, you can ask Antoine, you can ask me. We'll be there to help and to get you to that next level, guys. Thank you, Antoine. That was very, very interesting. I think we got a lot of great tips, good golden nuggets for people to get forward. And looking forward to talk to you maybe next year and to see that 100 more houses and bigger property.
We're going to do it. Thank you.
So it's been awesome. Thanks very much for being here. Guys, it's done. So ciao, everybody.